What's up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about my semester at NYU, and I swear I borrowed this from a friend. In the past, I've talked about my overall opinion on the college as a whole, and link to that video over here if you're interested. But today I'm going to talk about my specific experience at NYU Stern, the business school, this semester. So I'm going to go through all my classes. But first, in case you're wondering, my shin is almost healed. I have to get my stitches out on Tuesday, and then I'll be better than ever and ready to skate again. A quick precursor, I will be saying some negative things in this video, but overall, I very much enjoyed my experience here at NYU. The people here, most of the people here are pretty great, and I love how smart they are. I love the city, and I love the job opportunities. Like, most of my friends have been able to find internships for this summer if they wanted them, which is awesome. And I think that it wouldn't necessarily be as easy if you weren't casually able to jump over to all these offices and interview. So that's amazing, but let's jump into it and talk about all my classes. This semester I took 16 credits and 5 different classes, 3 4-credit classes and 2 2-credit classes. My first class every Monday and Wednesday morning is a 4-credit class called Management and Organizations, where we basically learn how to manage a big organization. So we'd learn about structure of organizations, motivating employees, setting the right culture, and ultimately it was a somewhat interesting class with parts I really liked and parts I really disliked. So one common theme you'll notice through most of my Stern classes is that it's really take what you want out of the education. So it could be really easy just to skate by, not really try and still get away with a B, or you could really put in the extra effort and learn a lot. This is especially true when it comes to the readings. It's sort of optional to a certain extent, even though teachers would never admit that. So I chose to do all the readings for this class because I was genuinely interested, and the reading wasn't too heavy. It was about 20 pages of reading before every single class, and usually it was pretty interesting. What I didn't like, however, was the actual class setup. So my teacher, 20% of the grade for her class was based on participation, which is totally fine by me if it's a good discussion, like a debate where you're challenging each other and learning from each other. But instead, this is more like she'd ask really simple, basic questions from the cases we'd have to read or from the reading. So instead of kids challenging each other and expanding their viewpoints, it was more just like regurgitating what they read in the cases. And that was just a big waste of everyone's time because my teacher had industry experience, and I'd rather hear from her, who knows what she's talking about, than my classmates who have no idea except for the 10 pages they just read. So that was kind of lame, and I would actually usually try and get a good debate going, but I struggle with it because the teacher wasn't necessarily supportive of that. Another thing is it was usually focused more on big corporations rather than startup culture, which is something I'm definitely more interested in. So I think that that's a big part of Stern is a lot of kids want to go into finance and big companies. So they're sort of catering to that audience more than those who maybe want to start their own businesses or work at a startup one day, which I understand. They're doing what the kids want, but I definitely feel a little bit dissatisfied with that. As far as actual work for the class goes, we had 2 midterms, which were fine and not too hard. And we had 2 papers, one independent 10-page paper where we had to read a case study and suggest how to fix the company. And I actually really enjoyed that, and that was challenging, and it was creatively stimulating, which is what I really want out of a class. Another one, we had to pick our own company and then suggest how to fix it with a group of 4 or 5. And I just finished that presentation yesterday. Had to wear a suit for the presentation. That was fun. And all in all, that was also pretty enjoyable. So I definitely like when you have to get creative and think about, all right, how can I actually apply this information rather than just regurgitating what she said. Overall, I'm going to rate that class a 4 out of 5 because I really hated the actual classes, but I liked what I learned from it, and I think I will be able to apply some of that knowledge. At this point, I should explain how Stern works. Basically, everyone gets a major in business, but people differentiate in what they concentrate in, which is like a concentration within the business major. So you could do marketing, finance, statistics, economics, a bunch of different stuff. Most kids opt to do finance because it's one of the best finance schools in the entire country. I'm probably going to do marketing on the other hand. So my management class and this next class I'm about to talk about were both requirements for kids to try different stuff within the school just to figure out what they like. My next class every Monday and Wednesday is Managerial Accounting, which is also a 4-credit, and yes, it's just as boring as it sounds. I have mixed feelings about this class. On one hand, it was easy, which is nice just because I didn't really want to take the class anyway. I had to for course requirements. But on the other hand, it was just an awful environment for learning. First thing is my professor had no participation grade and didn't really ever assert to his students how he wanted the classroom environment to be. So everyone, including myself sometimes, would be on their laptops the entire class and pay zero attention to him. But that's partially just because he was such a bad professor. He was incredibly boring and he overcomplicated things, making it much harder than it actually was. So he taught the course super slow, making things way way harder than they actually were. And all in all, he was just a really bad teacher. Any of these courses could be excellent. Like, it's not just the course, because if you have the right teacher, it'll be a really great time. It's all dependent on how the teacher chooses to work with the information. And this teacher just totally blew it. It wasn't that hard. I got a good grade in the class and I'm fine with it. I got through it, but one of the most boring hour and 15 minutes of my entire week is during managerial accounting. I think that's just rather a hard, interesting class than like an easy, boring class, because, you know, I'm in college to learn, and I feel like we didn't go over nearly as many concepts as we could have if he was a little bit more efficient at teaching. Another thing I didn't like is we had 4 homeworks in the class graded on correctness, which is fine when you fully learn the concepts and done a bunch of similar practice problems with the teacher and you're ready to just try it out independently. But for this, it was these concepts that we hadn't fully grasped yet, and we hadn't done that many examples, and we had to figure it out ourselves on the homework. So we're graded on a concept that we're still learning ourselves, which just seems unfair to me. I just think that homework should help you learn and not penalize your grades if you're still figuring it out. So all in all, I'm gonna rate this class a 2 thumbs down, maybe a 1.5 out of 5. My next class is one of the best classes I've ever taken at NYU. It was a 4-credit graphic design class in Steinhardt, which is another NYU school, and it's the School of Culture, Education, and Human Development, I believe. So I was doing a studio art minor where I had to do 16 credits worth of art classes. So I did a photo class, a drawing class, a sculpture class, and now this graphic design class to have completed the minor, and it was a really great time. I learned a lot of different stuff in these fields I never really worked in. So in this class, we focused on graphic design as much as we did typography, and my teacher is actually a professional graphic designer who only teaches this one class. So he really knew what he was talking about. He challenged us, and I walked in having no understanding of InDesign, which is part of the Adobe suite, and now I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of it. So I got it on my computer, and I just really enjoyed the assignments so much that a lot of it was done in class, and it didn't have to be that much homework, but I enjoyed it so much that I wanted to keep doing it as homework. So I'd tinker on my graphic designs all week, and then we do a critique almost every class for the first maybe hour, and then designate the next 2 hours or so to actually designing, and you come around, he'd be super helpful. It was just great because it was all constructive criticism that made you improve, and I love that. All in all, I'm gonna give this class a 2 thumbs up. And the biggest reason why, so 5 out of 5, 2 thumbs up. I have 2 different systems going right now. But the reason why is because in business school, the stuff we learn will hopefully be useful at some point in the future. Whereas with graphic design, the stuff we're learning is immediately applicable. So I've taken what I've learned with typography and applied it to making better video thumbnails. I've also updated my channel banner with what I've learned. It's just great life skills that are paying off right now. So all in all, I highly recommend learning graphic design. My next class was a 2 credit for my marketing concentration, and it's called Entertainment Media Industries. It was every Wednesday afternoon, and it was basically a general overview of all the entertainment industries, so movies, TV, music, radio. And all in all, it was kind of interesting. The professor kind of just got up and rambled about whatever subject we were talking about. We had 2 or 3 case studies that were just super easy homework assignments where you have to write like 1.5 pages. All in all, it just didn't take that much time, and I appreciated that. And it's one of those classes that you can really get what you want out of it. The textbook was pretty informative. I did about half of the readings, to be honest with you guys, after I realized that it didn't really matter if I read them. So I just read the stuff that sounded interesting to me. All in all, not too time consuming. The case studies were kind of interesting. We did one on Marvel Comics, one on Grand Central Publishing, a book publishing company. So that was fun. I would have liked to get more in depth on a couple of industries, really learn a lot about them, then kind of just glaze over everything. But you know what, that's the class, so I really can't complain. All in all, I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5. Pretty good class, wasn't too time consuming. I liked it. My next and final class is also a 2 credit marketing concentration class called Business of Producing. And this class is actually taught by an independent movie producer who knows what he's talking about. He's produced some incredible movies actually. And this had a very interesting structure. Basically, on the second day, we're paired off in groups of 6 randomly, and we had to produce a hypothetical movie throughout the entire semester. So what we had to do is think of a concept for a movie, find the actors that we want to use, make sure they're available, picking which agents we'd hit up for these actors, developing a budget, which film festival we want to premiere at. All of this stuff we had to develop, and it was a pretty cool assignment that lasted the entire semester. That was the only thing we were graded on, that and the actual presentation of this project, and it was just a pretty cool experience. So I really enjoyed this class. It wasn't too time consuming, and it was fun. My group developed a $6 million dark comedy film based on the conspiracy theory that there was a 4th ship that sailed with Christopher Columbus's 3 ships that housed all the illicit activities like prostitution and gambling. All in all, it was a pretty fun project that I very much enjoyed. So I'm going to give this class a 4.5 out of 5 just because it was a little bit disorganized, but pretty fun. And if you're into producing, this is definitely the class for you. So yeah, that was my semester. Honestly, I think the best part was that I had Thursdays and Fridays off with only 1 class on Tuesday. So it was almost as if I only had 2 days of classes every week, which was great. Lots of time to work on the projects that I really, really care about. Even though I have my complaints, the fact of the matter is I'm getting a pretty solid degree from a great school, which I think is the most important part because there is real value to having a degree. So that being said, thank you so much to NYU. Thank you to my teachers that don't suck, and thank you to all of you guys for watching. If you have any questions about NYU, Stern, college in general, or my oral hygiene, feel free to leave a comment down below and I'll try my best to answer them, or maybe other NYU students will chime in and also help out. Thank you so much everyone for watching, and I'll see you eventually.